Yep. All right. Welcome back to Is It Wrong to Typical Girls in a Dungeon Anime Review episode number 24. Yep. This one discussing the 39th episode of the series known as The Great Falls. This one pretty much covers the second half of Chapter 2 and pretty much goes through the entirety of Chapter 3. From what I can tell, they stay pretty faithful to Chapter 3, which is quite surprising to say the least. So, we pick up right where the ending credits basically left off last week, or right after the Hornets, the Hornets has those more Hornets, and they deal with that, and that's it for that part. Then they proceed to walk down to the next level, where they chopping up the wall a bit as Ross. They actually cut the little bit out here where it mentions some value in the stuff that cut out of the walls. It is mentioned here that if you chip at the walls of the dungeon itself, that it will prevent for a little while the eventual spawning of new monsters, which is something that he heard that Bell learned in the book. He did research before coming here, which good on his part. Excuse me. Not long afterwards, after chatting for a while, they proceed to set up camp, and then they decided to have their meal. And of course, Bell had the first watch. Obviously, they came and switch over a little later. Now, the one thing they do mention by Cassandra, there was a hint of something that they do mention that happens in the episode. Now, Cassandra had mentioned, thanks to her dream, that her vision was that the group is in danger. They're due to be surrounded by moss, which that comes to play actually at the end of the episode. Yep, that pretty true. Gets that. So, after they set up camp, and of course Daphne's in the tent with Lily, who basically Lily thanks her for teaching her about the whole thing with support, with being a strategist. And they also mentioned via dialogue in the episode. The book basically was mentioned via thoughts. In the episode, they brought the fact all the equipment that they brought on this expedition, with the exception of Asha's equipment, is all expensive. They spent a lot of money on this stuff, and they need to basically make as much money as possible in this expedition to pay up all that debt. And of course, I mentioned that they get like 30 shells, like 10 this, 20 that, when they get to like the cave on the 25th floor, and they count to the Great Falls, which I gotta admit, JC staff did a great job with how making the falls look. It looked gorgeous in the anime. Yeah, like it's described as a Great Falls, and wow, it looks so freaking good. And they do describe in the anime that the Great Falls basically go through at least two other floors aside from the 25th floor. They also go through 26th and 27th. They also bring up that with the whole all the water there, where does it go? According to Bell, it goes into a lake near Oreo, the town they live in. I'm like, okay. By the way, the camping thing, they do mention that some of them are new herbs that basically brought up that there's nothing like this in the town they live in or in the Far East. Interesting to say the least. Great. There's lots of really good dialogue in this episode. I at least I got to give high praise for the person who wrote this episode, making this episode so like sharp, witty, and interesting dialogue to listen to. Because that's been one thing about the series I have personally loved so much. It doesn't matter if it's sub or dubbed. The people who write these episodes do an absolute great job with the dialogue. It is the high watermark of the episodes, aside from the gorgeous animation we get here. So, then they move along to the edge, and they get down to a certain portion. They're about part way into the floor, and they say at this point they go a little further and they go back. And then when they're basically about to turn around because they figure they gone far enough, then of course a mysterious person comes to a cave. Turns out it's an adventurer named Livid, who Bell met last episode. And then we see this strange plant-like minotaur creature show up, who Bell defends himself by attacking the creature, and then fires this little missile off, which hits only Kessia. She's actually the one who's one of the more younger ones of the group, and she gets hit and she comes with the moss, the plant stuff, and the other guy gets planted too. And it turned out though by the end of the episode, Cassandra was in fact correct on that matter. Yep. But yeah. Oh, by the way, they do the first monster they count when they get 25th is basically blue crabs, which they kill pretty easily. They got two of the shells they're supposed to gather anyways. So there's some goods and bads that happen this episode, but at least praise the fact that we're already 3 episodes in, and they're not covering like 180, 120 pages in just one episode. They're not doing that. No. Anyways, yeah. Oh yeah. Anyways, um, but yeah, damn good episode. I personally love it. Now, in case you're curious, though, now there's no doubt in book 12 here. How much book they covered? Well, they kind of got to about 55 and they ended with 108. Basically, about 50 pages. Yeah, this is how much they covered one episode. I gotta admit, that's actually not bad. Mm-hmm. Yeah, not bad at all. Yeah, I just find this episode to be really good. Now, the episode Great Falls itself, the title, normally sometimes the title for some of these anime episodes are adapted from, let's say, manga or light novels, where the title's taken from the chapter from the actual book itself. You might be thinking, does this episode kind of do that? Well, here's how basically the best way to explain it. They kind of do. New World Water Island, which is basically the name they do bring up the episode, and because they get there, so there's that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm. This has been really good so far. We're already 2 episodes into this 22 episode season. We have 20 episodes left to go. My guess is we'll probably end by the end of the year. It's possible to say at least. Yeah, and here's the thing: out of the other two anime I review, which is Overlord and Harem Life in Our World, of course, along with Case Closed, One Piece, and Baruto, the other two probably end in just a few months. I'd say by at least about Octoberish. So they'll probably get soon replaced with Bleach and My Hero Academia. But this series will stay for quite a while, and I'm personally very happy with the fact that they're giving the series plenty of time to breathe. Now you might be curious though, was anything really majorly cut from this episode? Based on what I read, not really per se. I'd say a couple tiny bits of dialogue, but it's really faithful to what they adapt here. They have a whole chapter for this episode, which is fine. I got personal problem with that. But yeah, damn good episode. Can't wait for next week. So that's episode review. Next one's gonna be One Piece and then Baruto. And I'm probably going to, after that, basically watch the dub for the recent dub episodes. Now, I do know they did announce an Anime Expo a few weeks ago that they did announce that the next set of dub episodes released is going to be 819, 830, which came out on the 15th, which was a little over 2 weeks ago. They released it, I think it's physical media, that one was. Digitally, for streaming wise, it probably released about 3 weeks after that. So, excuse me, my guess is probably by Friday at the latest. And it's only 12 episodes, so hopefully it shouldn't take me too long to get through. Okay? So yeah, until we see you next video. Bye.